Hey folks, Will here again with Happily Ever Outdoors. So in this video, we're going to be taking a look at my custom Canteen cook set. So keep watching. Alright guys, well as always, thanks for tuning in. It is a beautiful spring day here in the state of New Jersey. We're right in the beginning of May, and we're finally getting some nice warm sunny weather. So I thought I would get out real quick this evening now that it's cooled off a little bit and kind of do a little bit of exploring. I've got a little bit of a series of trails that's kind of just down the road from my house. So sometimes if I don't have a lot of time to get out, I'll kind of come out here and explore a little bit. So I haven't been able to quite check out all the trails yet. So I've been kind of taking one little section at a time and seeing what's out here. As you can see, we're kind of having to go a little bit off the beaten path here because some of these roads are still pretty flooded. We had a big storm that came through, I guess about a month ago now, and took out a lot of trees too. So we're gonna see if we can figure out a way to get around this thing. All right guys, well we definitely had to cut brush a little bit and go off-road to get around the obstacle, but we did make it. And the good news is I don't think folks get back to this little section of trail here. I don't even really think this is a trail. I think this is more of like an old access road back here, but I think we'll be able to get a little peace and quiet. So that's always nice to get a little tranquility, a little time with just you and the birds and the squirrels. But it's also nice when you're out filming a video. Sometimes people look at you kind of weird when they sneak up on you and you're sitting there, talking to yourself or playing with your gear with the camera in front of you. Makes for some interesting conversations sometimes. Most of the time folks are, friendly and polite, but I have got a couple of strange looks in my day. Let's see if we can get this thing set up here. I just brought my mini tripod with me today. Get this thing balanced. Alright, so the reason I brought you guys out here today was so we could talk about my custom Canteen cook set. Now, if you guys have spent any time in the military, or maybe you have a friend or a family member who has, I'm sure you're familiar with the good old-fashioned 1-quart Canteen. Now, this is definitely kind of an old-fashioned piece of gear, but it's still been really popular. One of the reasons is because they're pretty affordable, and there's a lot of nice gear out there that's compatible with this style of Canteen. Sometimes they come with a long strap like this to sling it over your shoulder, or you might see them sometimes with clips on the back of the cover so that you can hook it on your belt or on like a vest or something if you're wearing something like that. But either way, it's a pretty cool piece of gear to have. It's one of my favorites. A lot of times where I would use this is if I was just taking like a short day hike, something like this, where I just wanted to go out in the woods for a little while, or maybe going to a local park or something like that, and I want to bring a decent volume of water, but I don't want to hassle with like carrying a big Camelback hydration bladder or something like that. I just want to be able to grab it and go. But again, from my time in the military, I was really familiar with just your traditional, GI style Canteen cup cook set, but I wanted to look for something a little bit upgraded from that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them being that the traditional GI style canteens aren't exactly known for having the best tasting water. They have a tendency to kind of transfer that weird kind of musty plasticky taste and smell to your water, so that's not the most pleasant. Along with that, obviously they're not BPA free, so if that's a concern for you, you spend a lot of time hiking out in the sun and you don't want those chemicals cooking into your water, you're going to need something that's made out of different material. That's why I was really excited when I found this Canteen from Nalgene online. No joke, guys, a turkey literally just flew up into that tree right behind me. So anyways, at least in the US, you can find these things online for about $9. They come in a variety of different colors. I got a red one here. I think you can get them like smoke colored, green, a few other different colors, but they're all semi-transparent, which is nice compared to the GI style canteens, because you can actually see the inside if they're starting to build up you know, any algae or anything nasty on the inside, and so you can do a better job of keeping them clean. They also come with a really nice lid with a similar, you know, loop on there like you'd see on a GI style canteen to keep you from losing the cap. They've got a nice wide mouth to them, which is pretty cool as well. And they're made from a durable, somewhat flexible, impact resistant type of plastic. So these are going to hold up pretty well to being dropped and things like that. You know, it's all the quality you would expect from Nalgene. And you can see stamped right there, made in the USA, BPA free. Now along the same lines, I was looking for a really traditional GI style canteen cup, but I was looking for something with a little bit better quality materials. A lot of times the traditional canteen cups you'll see will be made out of aluminum, which there's debate, you know, long term of whether that has any kind of health side effects, cooking in aluminum. I don't think they've found anything conclusive yet, but it's also not necessarily the most durable material. I think it tends to corrode a little bit faster and everything. I just like stainless steel. It's a little bit tougher and you know, a little bit easier to work with in my experience. Another thing is a lot of times they do not come with any kind of a lid, whereas this one does. This little setup comes from Rothco and it goes for about 18 bucks in the US, and this is super sturdy. I mean, it's really tough, but it's still lightweight. It's got a really nice lid that's got a lip so it sits secure on there. It's got a nice little ring on the top so you can lift that off. Even if it's really hot, you could use a stick or your knife or something to pick it up. And it's got like extra wide handles right there. You can see really big, good size, and of course they fold flat just like you would expect. And our Nalgene canteen nests really nicely inside there. Of course, you're also going to need some kind of a cover to hold it all together. This one I also got from Rothco. This is their vintage style canteen cover, and it was only 10 bucks. You can see everything fits back inside. You just want to drop the lid in first, and then your canteen and canteen cup will drop in right on top of that. Now, of course, there are a ton of different canteen covers out there. You can get stuff that's really tactical looking or really old-fashioned. You could go with leather, cloth, you know, nylon ripstop. There's all kinds of them out there. And this isn't necessarily the best canteen cover out there, but there was a couple of things I was looking for. Number one, I wanted a really kind of old-fashioned, you know, vintagey kind of look. I didn't want something tactical. I wanted something that looked more basic and traditional. And the other piece was this really large pocket on the front that caught my eye, and there was a specific reason for that, and that was because I already owned a Emberlit fire ant stove. And when I saw this canteen cover, I said, I wonder if an Emberlit fire ant would fit inside this thing. And sure enough, it does. It fits just perfectly, and it gives you actually some extra room. I was able to stuff some like fuel cubes down inside there, Bic lighter. You might be able to put in some tinder or something like that different if you want to put something different in there, or like coffee creamer if you wanted to make coffee, some tea bags, whatever. You even have extra room. But I was really excited that it worked out the way that I thought it would, because number one, it works out great for me, makes it a really cool little kit that I can carry my Emberlit stove in, but also I can pass it along to you guys. So if you are looking for a canteen cover where you can make a kit like this, you know that you're good to go. It'll fit. Along with that, you've got a little bit of room left if you want to slide a spork in there, something like that, as well as like some tea bags or like instant coffee like I mentioned. You can squeeze those in there as well. So this is going to be a pretty cool little setup. I know a lot of people are messing around with cooking in canteen cups. If you haven't seen any of the other videos on YouTube that a lot of other channels are doing, just do a quick search on Canteen Cup Tuesday and you'll see a bunch of videos pop up. There's a lot of really, you know, simple soups, simple dishes that you can make in a Canteen cup just like this. It's also going to be great for coffee, tea, cocoa, any kind of hot drinks like that. We've also got a video coming out ourselves next Tuesday in our camp cooking series where you can see this setup here in action, and I've had a lot of fun with it. That video was actually the very first time that we used this setup, but we've had some chance to kind of take it out and mess around with it some more since then, and I've been really happy with how it's worked out. But this is a pretty cool little setup. It's worked out really great for me. Definitely kind of like a higher end upgrade to your traditional Canteen cup cook set. It goes for about 79 bucks altogether, and that might seem a little expensive, but really about 35 bucks of that is the Emberlit stove. So if you wanted to make this a little cheaper, you could swap it out for some kind of a a different little cook stove, and you could come in at a lot lower price, actually about 44 bucks if you take the Emberlit out of it. But in my mind, it's well worth the money, and with the Emberlit Fire Ant, you get something that's a lot more versatile than just a regular twig stove. So not only does it work as a twig stove, it also is compatible with the Trangia Spirit Burner. We did a video a little while back on that. If you guys want to check that out, I'll drop the link in the description below, but you can go ahead and just slide that Trangia alcohol burner right in there, and you can use that if that's what you want to use. Again, you can load it up with sticks, use it just like a regular twig stove, or it's got a little tray that I'll show you guys in just a second here that you can slide in there so that you can use fuel cubes. So it works for 3 different fuel sources. So even if you have other cookware with you, something a little bit bigger, like a smaller bush pot or a small fry pan, something like that, it's still going to work for that too. So just to give you guys a quick little demo how this thing works, you can see it just all pops together like that, and we've got our little shelf slid in there, and that is made specifically again to support any kind of fuel cubes or tabs that you might use, and that's going to elevate them up close to the bottom of your cook surface so that they work more effectively. Again, if I wanted to just load this up with twigs and stuff, it works just like the bigger Emberlit stove, just on a smaller scale. You can front load it, you would leave that little tray out, and it would cook that way. So if I'm planning to use my fuel cubes, I'm just going to go ahead and pull one out and drop it right on that tray. Alright, we'll just set that in there, and with this type right here, all you need is a lighter to get it started. I'm just going to go ahead and pick it up to get the corner started, make it a little easier on myself. And you'll want to be real careful doing that. For one, these do have chemicals and stuff, so you want to make sure your hand's clean before you're touching your eyes, your face, or your food. But also when they start burning, you can't always really see the flame very well. Even right now, you guys probably can't hardly see it at all. Even for me, it's not very visible, but it is very hot. So always be mindful of that when you're working with kind of these artificial fuels here, because you don't want to burn yourself. So now all we've got to do, we'll get our little Canteen cup ready to go. We'll go ahead and pour some water out of our Canteen, and we'll go ahead and get our Canteen situated so this water can start heating up. And with this stove, as long as you set it on there at an angle, it's the perfect size. I mean, it's hard to get any better than that. And this is super stable. I mean, the stove is a little wobbly because of the soft ground, but the Canteen itself sits on there really well, balances very nicely. So I was definitely really happy to see that. I wasn't sure with the stove being as small as it was, but with the size and the shape of a standard Canteen cup, it works out just right. Now don't forget, we've also got our lid, and this is not only useful for just keeping ash and dirt and bugs and stuff out of your water or your food. It's going to help your water to boil a lot faster too. That's going to hold the heat in, so that can be a really important thing, especially when you're working with limited fuel and everything. You don't want to waste a bunch of time, you don't want to waste a bunch of resources, so having that lid can make it a lot easier, especially if you're trying to get a real rolling boil, than it would be if you didn't have one. You can also see that having that tray in there is a really awesome design feature for when you're using fuel cubes like this, because it puts the heat again right underneath your cook surface. So it's going to be way more effective than it would be if I was trying to set some kind of a fuel tab down inside the bottom of that stove. I also really like that you get this added height to it. You get a little more of a platform than you do with some of the little, micro stoves that are made to go with fuel cubes, and you can, work a little bit easier off of it. It just feels a little more comfortable to me. You're not, right down in the dirt. Now, folks, I haven't been timing this, but it's only been just a couple of minutes, and I can already hear that water starting to whir. I can see the bubbles. It's getting ready to come to a boil, and we've got, plenty of fuel left. That tab, I would say, isn't even like a quarter of the way burnt down, so we're definitely not gonna have any problems getting a boil here. All right, guys, sounds like we're about where we need to be. Oh yeah, we got a steady boil going, and that was super quick. That couldn't have been, I would say, more than like 2 minutes, 3 maybe tops. So we'll just go ahead and drop our tea bag in there, give that a little time to brew, and we'll have ourselves a nice big old Canteen cup of green tea. All right, we can go ahead and pull that off the heat, and we'll just go ahead and let that stove sit and let that fuel cube burn down the rest of the way. All right, that smells good. Now, never forget with Canteen cups, or any kind of cookware for that matter, be mindful of how hot it is before you press it up against your body or set it on your clothes or anything like that. Give that just a little bit to cool off. That's a little too hot to put my lips on. That's good. Green tea is nice and healthy for you, and gives you a little bit of a caffeine kick too. Go ahead and let that cool a little bit more before I go too crazy. But another nice thing about this cup, I really like the way these handles lock out. As long as you keep a little bit of a squeeze on them, they stay out really strong. Feels really, really sturdy, like you're in control of what's going on with this thing. Go ahead and just add a little bit of my water to this, cool it down a little quicker. It's good stuff. Alright guys, so we went ahead and let the thing burn down and knocked it out of there, and then we just break down our stove. Again, just be mindful, give it some time to cool off, and always go a little bit slow, be a little bit cautious just in case it hasn't cooled down as much as you thought it did. So once we're all done with that, all done with our tea, we can go ahead and start packing things up. And we are all set, all ready to go. Well, we had better get headed back to the truck. It is starting to get dark on us out here, but I hope this video was helpful to you guys. This wasn't meant to be like an extensive review of any of these products. It was more just to kind of show you guys what I put together. Of course, I'll have links to all this stuff in the description, so if you want to pick up any of it or all of it, you can do so, and you can know that it all goes together just like I showed you. Of course, if you've got any questions or concerns about any of this gear or how it works, feel free to drop that in the comments below and we'll get back with you. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of the week, and don't forget to be watching for that camp cooking video we got coming up. Until next time, stay happy, stay outdoors.